Waitress is the only nice person to the undercover black owner. What happens next is shocking. Jordan Brooks surveyed the downtown skyline from his penthouse office, his reflection faintly visible in the floor-to-ceiling windows. At 42, he built an empire from scratch, 12 restaurants across 3 states, with the crown jewel being Embers, his upscale downtown establishment. The restaurant had everything: 5-star reviews, a 3-month reservation waitlist, and celebrity endorsements. Yet something felt off. "You sure about this?" Marcus, his childhood friend and CFO, leaned against the doorframe. "You built Embers from nothing. People would kill for your success story." Jordan turned, his expression hardened with resolve. "The numbers don't lie. Customer complaints are up 30% in the last quarter. Staff turnover is through the roof, and the pattern is clear: it's mostly happening to our minority employees and guests." Marcus sighed. "And you think going undercover is the answer? You haven't washed a dish since college." "That's exactly why it'll work." Jordan ran his hand over his normally well-trimmed beard, now intentionally grown out and unkempt. "Nobody at Embers has met me in person, except Gregory, and he's the only manager who knows what's happening. As far as everyone else is concerned, I'm just another black man looking for work. The kind they apparently have problems with. And if you're right about the discrimination?" Jordan's eyes narrowed. "Then I'm shutting it all down and starting over. I didn't claw my way up from nothing to watch people use my success to step on others." 3 days later, Jordan arrived at Ember's back entrance at 5:30 a.m., dressed in worn jeans and a faded hoodie. Gone were the tailored suits and the luxury watch. He carried a battered backpack with a single change of clothes and a brown bag lunch, a far cry from his usual catered meals. Gregory, the general manager, met him at the service entrance, maintaining a professional distance as previously agreed. "Mr. Johnson," Gregory said loudly, for the benefit of a passing kitchen worker, using the alias they'd arranged. "Thank you for coming in so early. We're short-staffed in the dish pit, and we need the help immediately." "Thanks for the opportunity," Jordan replied, keeping his eyes down, his voice devoid of the confidence that had closed million-dollar deals. Gregory led him through the kitchen's back area. Even at this early hour, prep cooks were chopping vegetables, and bakers were pulling fresh bread from the ovens. The aromas reminded Jordan why he'd fallen in love with the restaurant business: the craftsmanship, the passion, the artistry of food. "Everyone," Gregory announced to the morning crew, "this is Darnell Johnson. He's starting in the dish pit today. Make him feel welcome." Jordan registered the reactions: a few nods, several indifferent glances, and 2 prep cooks who didn't bother looking up at all. A young man at the pastry station briefly checked him out before whispering something to his colleague that made them both snicker. "The dish pit's back there," Gregory pointed. "Manny will show you the ropes when he gets in at 6. For now, you can start by cleaning up the mess from last night's close." Jordan nodded and headed to the back of the kitchen. What he found made his stomach turn: stacks of crusty pots, piles of utensils, and splatters of dried sauce everywhere. Clearly, whoever closed had left the worst of the work for the morning shift. He rolled up his sleeves and got to work. By noon, Jordan's back ached, his hands were pruned from the constant exposure to water, and he'd already spotted serious issues with kitchen workflow, waste management, and staff communication. Most concerning, however, was how he'd been treated. The head chef had barked orders at him without making eye contact. The sous chef had accidentally bumped into him twice, without apologizing. The servers barely acknowledged his existence, except when demanding clean flatware immediately. "Hey, dish boy," a server with Tyler on his name tag snapped his fingers. "We need wine glasses, like yesterday. Table 12 is a big tipper, and they're not waiting on you." Jordan bit his tongue. "Coming right up," he said, loading the industrial washer while Tyler tapped his foot impatiently. "Whatever. Just hurry up." Tyler grabbed his phone, taking a selfie against the kitchen backdrop. "Have to keep the followers updated on my glamorous restaurant life," he said to no one in particular. Jordan wondered if Tyler's followers knew their insider kitchen view came with a side of condescension toward the staff, who made his job possible. The lunch rush hit like a tidal wave. Jordan worked without a break, his muscles burning as he scraped, rinsed, and loaded dish after dish. Twice, servers returned with complaints about water spots on glassware, dumping entire trays for him to rewash. I don't care if you have to dry each one by hand, the assistant manager, Vanessa, told him coldly. Our standards don't drop because we're short-staffed. Jordan had nearly reached his breaking point when a young woman with auburn hair tied in a messy bun poked her head into the dish pit. Hey there, new guy, she said, her smile genuine. I'm Emily, brought you some water. You haven't stopped moving since I clocked in. Jordan looked up in surprise. Thanks, he said gratefully accepting the glass. I'm Darnell. Nice to meet you, Darnell. Emily leaned against the doorway. Sorry about the chaos. Lunch rush is always brutal, but today's especially bad. Don't let it get to you, okay? Before Jordan could respond, a voice cut through the kitchen. Emily, table 14 needs their check, and 7 is still waiting on their appetizers. Emily rolled her eyes good-naturedly. That's my cue. Hang in there, Darnell. It gets easier. She rushed back to the dining room, leaving Jordan momentarily stunned by the simple act of kindness. The afternoon crawled by. Jordan observed the staff dynamics intently, noting who wielded power, who followed, and who got pushed around. He watched Emily move efficiently between tables, maintaining a warm smile despite rude customers and unhelpful colleagues. At one point, Jordan overheard a heated exchange near the kitchen entrance. Listen, I specifically said no ice in my water. Is that so hard to understand? A middle-aged man, in an expensive suit, was berating Emily. I'm terribly sorry, sir. I'll replace it immediately. Emily replied, maintaining her composure. This is why places like this should hire better people, the man continued, loud enough for the entire kitchen to hear. You people never listen. Jordan tensed, recognizing the racially charged undertone. He wasn't the only one who noticed. Tyler and another server exchanged amused glances, while Vanessa pretended not to hear. Emily returned with a fresh glass of water. Here you go, sir. No ice, as requested. Is there anything else I can get for you? The man snatched the glass. Just get our food right this time. As Emily turned away, Jordan caught the hurt in her eyes, quickly masked with professionalism. He expected her to complain to colleagues or vent in the back, as many servers did. Instead, she took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and moved on to her next table, with the same genuine smile. Later, as the dinner shift preparation began, Jordan overheard Tyler and another server, Megan, gossiping near the service station. Did you see Emily with that table of black teenagers earlier? Megan whispered. She spent like 10 minutes explaining the menu to them, as if they could afford anything beyond water. Tyler snickered. Probably hoping for a pity tip. She's always nice to those tables. Maybe she should stick to Waffle House if that's her clientele preference. Megan replied, both laughing. Jordan felt his blood boil. He'd experienced plenty of subtle racism throughout his career, but hearing it so blatantly in his own establishment was infuriating. He made a mental note of the exchange, continuing his observations as the dinner service began. By closing time, Jordan's legs trembled with exhaustion. He'd worked 14 hours straight, with only a 20-minute break to wolf down his sandwich. As he finished the final load of dishes, Emily appeared again, this time with a small plate of food. Chef was going to throw this out, she said, sliding it toward him. It's the special from tonight. Figured you might be hungry after all that work. Jordan looked down at the perfectly plated salmon, with risotto, a $42 dish that customers raved about. You sure this is okay? Emily shrugged. Better in your stomach than the trash. Besides, everyone deserves to taste what they're working for. She glanced at his raw, reddened hands. Rough first day, huh? I've had worse, Jordan said truthfully, thinking back to his early days washing dishes to put himself through business school. Well, for what it's worth, you did great. Most new dish guys quit before dinner service. She leaned in conspiratorially. Pro tip, bring lotion tomorrow. Industrial dish soap is brutal on the skin. Jordan nodded, genuinely touched by her thoughtfulness. Anyway, I've got to finish my side work. See you tomorrow, Darnell. As Emily walked away, Jordan sat alone in the dish pit, absorbing everything he'd witnessed. One day in, and the rumors had already been confirmed, and then, but amidst the disrespect and thinly veiled racism, there had been Emily treating him with dignity, simply because it was the right thing to do. He took a bite of the salmon, savoring the flavors of his own recipe. Tomorrow would bring new tests, new observations, but one thing was already clear. Emily Carter was different, and Jordan Brooks, the invisible owner of Embers, wasn't going to forget that. A week into his undercover operation, Jordan had seen enough to justify a complete staff overhaul. Yet something held him back from revealing himself. He needed irrefutable evidence, something that would expose behaviors beyond plausible deniability. After his shift ended, Jordan called Marcus from his car. "I need actors," Jordan said without preamble. 3 or 4 people who can play difficult customers convincingly. "You're escalating this?" Marcus sounded concerned. "I'm testing them," Jordan corrected. "I need to see who stands up for what's right when they think nobody important is watching." The following afternoon, the first difficult customer arrived. A well-dressed woman in her 50s who'd previously worked with Jordan's marketing team. Jordan was clearing plates when she began her performance. "Excuse me," she called loudly, beckoning to Emily who was serving nearby. "Why is that man handling clean dishes? His kind doesn't seem concerned with hygiene." Emily froze momentarily, then approached with a professional smile. "I assure you, ma'am, our dishwasher follows strict health protocols. All our staff is thoroughly trained." "I doubt that very much," the woman sniffed. "Just look at him. He probably doesn't even understand English properly." Jordan kept his head down, feeling multiple pairs of eyes on him. Tyler, working the adjacent section, snickered behind his serving tray. "Ma'am," Emily's voice remained steady despite her reddening cheeks, "I must respectfully ask that you refrain from making such comments about our staff. Everyone here is a valued team member." "I'd like to speak to your manager," the woman demanded. From the corner of his eye, Jordan saw Vanessa approach. Finally, he thought, someone in leadership would set things right. "I understand there's a concern?" Vanessa asked, pointedly ignoring Emily. "This waitress is being impertinent because I expressed concerns about your dishwasher's cleanliness." Vanessa smiled apologetically. "I'm so sorry for any discomfort. Emily, perhaps you could focus on your other tables? I'll take care of this." Emily hesitated, glancing at Jordan, who kept his expression neutral. She reluctantly moved away, but Jordan noticed her watching from the service station. "We completely understand your concerns," Vanessa continued to the woman. "Rest assured, we'll monitor the situation more closely." Later, a second actor arrived, a businessman who loudly complained about finding a hair in his food, accusingly pointing at Jordan, despite the physical impossibility given Jordan's position in the back. "That's the only explanation," the man insisted when Chef Michael investigated. "It certainly wasn't from any of you." The implication hung heavily in the air. "Sir, our dishwasher works in the back and doesn't handle plated food." Emily intervened, having been called over by the busboy. "And all our staff, including Darnell, wear proper hair coverings when required." "Are you calling me a liar?" the man challenged. Tyler, passing by with drinks, muttered, "Just apologize and come to meal." "Not worth the drama. I'm not calling anyone anything." Emily replied calmly. "I'm simply stating facts about our kitchen procedures." Chef Michael glared at Emily. "That's enough, I'll handle this." Turning to the customer, he added, "We'll prepare a new dish immediately, sir. On the house, of course." The third test came during the dinner rush. A group of 3 customers who repeatedly made loud derogatory comments about the help whenever Jordan approached to clear their table. "Can't they hire someone more presentable?" one said loudly. "Probably the only job he could get," another replied. "Not exactly rocket scientist material." Several servers pretended not to hear. The hostess giggled uncomfortably. Jordan noticed Emily at the computer terminal, her fingers pausing over the keys as she listened, her jaw tightening. When Jordan returned to remove another round of plates, one actor intentionally knocked a glass off the table. "Oops," he said without remorse. "Well, at least we're giving him job security." Emily appeared instantly. "Excuse me, gentlemen," she said, her voice firm but quiet. "I'll need to ask you to treat our staff with respect." "It was an accident," the man lied. "I've been observing multiple accidents at this table," Emily countered. "Sir, if you can't treat our team with basic human dignity, I'll need to ask you to leave." The floor manager Justin rushed over. "Emily, what's going on here? These customers have been harassing our dishwasher." "Justin, I've asked them to stop." Justin pulled her aside, hissing, "Are you insane? They've ordered 3 bottles of our premium wine. I don't care if they ordered the entire wine cellar, Emily whispered back fiercely. They can't treat people like that. Go take your break, now. Justin turned to the table with an apologetic smile. I'm terribly sorry for the misunderstanding. Your next round of drinks is on the house. As Emily reluctantly headed toward the back, she stopped briefly beside Jordan. I'm sorry, she said quietly. That shouldn't happen to anyone. Jordan nodded, unable to speak past the lump in his throat. In 3 different scenarios with witnesses aplenty, Emily alone had consistently stood up for basic human dignity, not for reward or recognition, but simply because it was right. Later, as Jordan finished his shift, he overheard Justin berating Emily in the office. One more stunt like that, and you're done here. Understood? We can't afford your bleeding heart costing us paying customers. Yes, sir, Emily replied, but when she emerged, Jordan saw no regret in her eyes. Only quiet resolve. The loyalty test was complete, and only one person had passed. The morning staff meeting was tense. Justin, clipboard in hand, was reviewing the previous week's performance when he paused to single out Emily. Before we continue, let's be clear about customer relations, he announced, his gaze fixed on her. Our job is to make guests feel welcome, not to lecture them on social etiquette. Some of us seemed confused about that. Several staff members glanced at Emily, who kept her focus straight ahead, shoulders squared. Moving on, Justin continued. We have a VIP reservation tonight, the Hendersons. Tyler, I want you taking point on this. Actually, Gregory interjected. I'd like Emily to handle the Hendersons. A ripple of surprise moved through the room. The Hendersons were notorious big spenders, typically reserved for senior servers like Tyler. With all due respect, Justin argued, given Emily's recent sensitivity issues, I don't think… It wasn't a suggestion, Gregory said firmly. Emily will take the Hendersons. As the meeting dispersed, Jordan noticed Tyler and Megan huddled with Vanessa, their expressions dark as they watched Emily check the reservation book. This is bullshit, Tyler muttered. Gregory's playing favorites now. Must be that special connection, Vanessa replied, eyeing Emily suspiciously. First she's buddying up with the dishwasher, now getting VIP tables. Jordan, wiping down nearby menus, caught Megan's calculating look. Maybe she needs to learn how things work around here, Megan suggested quietly. The sabotage began subtly. Emily's table assignments were mysteriously changed in the system. When she approached table 12, who had specifically requested her, Vanessa intercepted. There's been a mix-up, Vanessa explained to the guests. Tyler will be your server tonight. But we asked for Emily, the woman protested. She took wonderful care of us last time. I'm sorry, but she's been assigned elsewhere. Vanessa's smile didn't reach her eyes. I assure you Tyler is one of our best. Later, Emily found herself double-seated during rush, 5 tables within minutes. As she hurried to greet a new party, Megan accidentally bumped into her, causing Emily to spill water on a customer's designer bag. I'm so sorry, Emily exclaimed, mortified. Nice going, Tyler whispered, as he passed. Justin's already documenting the incident. By mid-shift, Emily's orders were coming out wrong. Steaks well done instead of medium rare, allergens included, despite her clearly marked tickets, wine pairings mismatched. This isn't what I ordered, Chef Michael challenged when Emily returned a plate. I know, Emily insisted. My ticket said salmon, no dairy. This has butter sauce. The chef held up her ticket, somehow altered to show no dietary restrictions. You're wasting food and my time. In the service alley, Jordan watched Emily's growing distress. Despite the mounting pressure, she maintained her composure, apologizing to guests and redoubling her efforts. The Henderson reservation arrived, a 6-top celebrating a business acquisition. Emily greeted them warmly, expertly guiding them through specials and wine selections. Jordan noticed Vanessa whispering to Justin, both watching Emily like hawks. Halfway through the Hendersons' meal, a commotion erupted. This is unacceptable. Mr. Henderson was standing, holding up a broken piece of glass. There was glass in my wife's salad. Emily paled. Sir, I don't understand how that happened. Your incompetence could have seriously injured my wife. Henderson fumed. Gregory and Justin rushed over. The dining room fell silent. I inspected that salad myself, Emily insisted, her voice shaking. There was no glass. From his position clearing nearby tables, Jordan caught a glimpse of Tyler and Megan exchanging glances. In that moment, he knew they had planted the glass after the plate left the kitchen. "Emily, go to the office. Now," Justin ordered. "Mr. Henderson, please accept our deepest apologies. Your entire meal is on the house tonight." As Emily walked away, Jordan noticed Vanessa's satisfied smirk. Later that night, Jordan found Emily in the break room, eyes red but dry as she stared at her written warning. "Negligence resulting in potential customer harm," she read aloud, voice hollow. "One more incident will result in immediate termination." "You didn't do anything wrong," Jordan said quietly. Emily looked up, surprised by his presence. "Doesn't matter. They've been gunning for me all week. Why don't you quit? Find somewhere that appreciates you?" She laughed mirthlessly. "Single mom with rent due next week? Not exactly swimming in options, Darnell." She folded the warning into her pocket. "Besides, I've worked too hard to let them chase me out. They're not going to stop," Jordan warned. "Probably not." Emily stood, straightening her uniform. "But neither am I." After she left, Jordan retreated to the employee bathroom. Locking the door behind him, he pulled out his phone and called Gregory. "It's worse than we thought," Jordan said without preamble. "They're actively sabotaging her now. Glass in a customer's food, Gregory. They could have hurt someone to get at her." "What do you want to do?" Gregory asked. Jordan's reflection in the mirror showed not the dishwasher, but the CEO, eyes hard with determination. "Move up the timeline. Schedule an all-staff meeting for Friday morning. It's time to end this. And Emily? Keep her safe until then. I've seen enough." Jordan paused. "And Gregory? Start processing termination paperwork for Tyler, Megan, Vanessa, and Justin. I want them gone the minute I reveal myself." As Jordan hung up, he knew the coming days would be challenging for Emily. The target on her back had grown, and her enemies were getting desperate. But they had no idea who they were really dealing with, or how completely their world was about to change. Thursday morning arrived with a thunderstorm that matched Emily's mood. She sat in her car outside embers, watching raindrops race down the windshield, working up the courage to go inside. Every shift had become a battle, and her resources were depleting rapidly. Her phone buzzed with a text from her babysitter. "Tommy's running a fever. Can you pick him up early?" Emily closed her eyes, feeling the weight of everything pressing down. Her 6-year-old son was sick, her rent was due in 4 days. And inside that restaurant waited people determined to destroy her career. "Just one more day," she whispered to herself. "After Friday's meeting, I'll figure something out." The moment Emily entered the restaurant, she sensed something was different. Tyler and Megan huddled near the bar with Justin, falling silent when they spotted her. Their expressions weren't just hostile anymore, they looked almost triumphant. "Morning, Emily," Gregory nodded as he passed. "Everything all right?" "Fine," she lied, hanging up her rain-soaked jacket. In the kitchen she found Darnell already at work, his quiet presence somehow reassuring. He'd become her unexpected ally in this fight of attrition, always appearing with a clean towel when she spilled something, or ensuring her table's dishes came out first during rushed services. "Rough morning?" he asked, noticing her expression. "Tommy's sick," she explained, "and I'm pretty sure they're plotting something new." Darnell frowned. "Your son? Is he okay?" "Just a fever, but—" She was interrupted by Justin calling for pre-service lineup. Throughout the afternoon the sabotage continued with escalating boldness. Emily's section, usually prime real estate near the windows, had been reassigned to the back corner near the restrooms. Her food orders mysteriously disappeared from the kitchen queue. A customer complained that she'd recommended a wine that contained sulfites despite their allergy, something Emily knew she'd never do. Each incident was documented by Justin with exaggerated concern. "This is becoming a pattern, Emily. I'm starting to question if this is the right fit for you." By evening service, Emily was running on fumes. She'd barely had time to check on Tommy, who thankfully was resting comfortably with Tylenol and cartoons. The babysitter had agreed to stay late at additional cost, of course. As Emily served a four-top in her relegated corner section, Vanessa approached with a middle-aged couple. "Emily, these guests specifically requested your section," Vanessa announced loudly. Emily recognized them immediately. The same couple who'd complained about Darnell's cleanliness last week. Her stomach tightened. "Actually, the woman said with manufactured sweetness. "We wanted to apologize for any misunderstanding during our last visit. We've heard so much about your special attention to certain staff members." Emily felt the trap closing around her. From across the dining room, she saw Tyler, Megan, and 3 other servers watching intently. "I'm happy to serve you," Emily replied professionally, "but I'm unsure what you mean about special attention." The man leaned forward. "We've heard you're quite friendly with some of the kitchen staff, particularly defensive of them, aren't you?" In that moment, Emily understood. This wasn't just another difficult table, this was a deliberate setup, designed to provoke her into another confrontation that would justify her termination. "Your table's ready," she said stiffly. "Please follow me." Throughout their meal, the couple made increasingly inappropriate comments about workplace romances and sleeping your way through the kitchen. Each remark was just quiet enough that nearby tables couldn't quite hear, but loud enough that Emily couldn't pretend to miss them. With each veiled insult, Emily felt something crumbling inside her: her confidence, her resolve, her faith in basic human decency. When their meal concluded, the man requested the check with a smirk. "We hope you'll join us for a nightcap. We'd love to hear more about your qualifications." Emily placed their check on the table with trembling hands. "Is there anything else I can get for you?" "Just making sure our generous tip goes directly to you," the woman replied, sliding over a $20 bill. "For services rendered." The implication was unmistakable. Emily stared at the money, tears threatening to spill. 3 weeks of harassment, sabotage, and now this, a deliberate attempt to paint her as trading favors for tips. She looked up to see Justin watching, notepad in hand, clearly waiting for her to react. Without a word, Emily turned and walked straight to the break room, locked herself in a bathroom stall, and finally let the tears come. 10 minutes later, a soft knock interrupted her silent breakdown. "Emily?" It was Darnell's voice. "Are you okay?" She wiped her eyes, unlocked the door, and found him standing there with a cup of tea and concerned eyes. "I can't do this anymore," she admitted, accepting the tea with shaking hands. "They win, I'm quitting." "Tomorrow's the staff meeting," Darnell reminded her gently. "Maybe wait until after that. What's the point? They've documented enough incidents to deny me unemployment. I've got a sick kid at home, rent due, and people here who'd rather destroy me than just let me do my job." She looked up at him. "Why? What did I ever do to them?" Darnell's expression softened. "You showed them what they could be, and they resented the reflection." Emily considered his words, then shook her head. "Well, I'm done being their mirror." "One more day," Darnell urged, with an intensity that surprised her. "Just make it through tomorrow's meeting. Trust me when I say everything will look different afterward." Something in his eyes gave her pause, a certainty that seemed out of place for a dishwasher who'd only been there a few weeks. "Why do you care so much?" she asked. "Because giving up means they win," he replied simply. "And people like that shouldn't win." Emily took a deep breath, thinking of Tommy and the lessons she wanted to teach him about standing up to bullies. "One more day," she agreed finally. "But after that, I'm done. No matter what happens at that meeting." What Emily couldn't know was just how dramatically her life would change in less than 24 hours. Friday morning arrived with an atmosphere of tension. The entire staff had been summoned for an unprecedented 8 a.m. meeting before the restaurant opened. Rumors circulated: budget cuts, schedule changes, possible layoffs. Emily arrived early, dark circles under her eyes, betraying her sleepless night. She'd already typed out her resignation letter, saved on her phone, ready to send the moment the meeting concluded. "Morning," Tyler greeted her with unusual cheerfulness. "Excited for the big announcement?" "Thrilled," Emily replied flatly, ignoring his smug expression. The dining room had been rearranged with chairs facing the small elevated platform used for live music on weekends. Gregory stood near the entrance, directing staff to sign an attendance sheet. Another unusual procedure. At precisely 8 a.m., Gregory locked the front door and addressed the assembled staff. "Thank you all for being punctual. Today's meeting is mandatory and confidential." His tone was uncharacteristically formal. "Before we begin, please surrender your phones to maintain privacy." Confused murmurs filled the room as servers, kitchen staff, and management reluctantly placed their devices in a collection basket. "What is this about?" Justin demanded. "You'll understand shortly," Gregory assured him. "Now, if everyone would please be seated." Emily noticed that Darnell was missing. Perhaps he'd already quit, she thought enviously. Gregory cleared his throat. For the past 3 weeks, Embers has been undergoing an internal evaluation. Today, you'll meet the person behind this assessment. He gestured toward the kitchen. Sir, we're ready for you. The staff turned collectively as the kitchen doors swung open. A man emerged, but not the disheveled dishwasher they expected. This man wore an impeccably tailored charcoal suit, crisp white shirt and polished leather shoes. His beard was neatly trimmed, his posture commanding, yet his face was unmistakably Darnell's. A shocked silence fell over the room. Good morning, the man said, his voice familiar yet different, more authoritative, more refined. For those who made the effort to know me, I'm Darnell Johnson. For everyone else, allow me to properly introduce myself. I'm Jordan Brooks, the owner and CEO of Embers. Emily's hand flew to her mouth. Around her, faces drained of color as the implications dawned. 3 weeks ago, Jordan continued, walking slowly down the center aisle, I received reports about discriminatory practices at this location. Rather than rely on second-hand accounts, I decided to experience it firsthand. He stopped directly in front of Tyler, who had visibly begun to sweat. What I discovered was worse than anticipated. I witnessed sustained harassment, discrimination, and a toxic culture that violates everything Embers was built to represent. Jordan moved to a laptop connected to a projector. For transparency, I documented everything. The screen came to life, displaying a grid of surveillance footage, timestamps, angles from every corner of the restaurant, crystal clear audio. Here's Tyler and Megan mocking customers based on their race, Jordan narrated as the first clip played. Here's Vanessa deliberately changing Emily's section assignments after complaints about her defending me. Clip after damning clip appeared, Justin documenting fabricated infractions, kitchen staff deliberately mishandling Emily's orders, the planted glass incident in high-definition clarity. We have over 60 hours of similar footage, Jordan stated, including last night's orchestrated harassment designed to provoke Emily's resignation. Emily sat frozen, processing the revelation. The man who'd washed dishes beside her, who'd brought her tea when she cried, was actually the owner of the entire restaurant chain. Jordan's expression softened as he looked at her. Emily, I want to personally apologize for what you've endured. Your integrity and character shone through consistently, even when you thought nobody was watching. He turned back to address the room. In contrast, many of you showed your true colors when dealing with someone you perceived as beneath you. Jordan nodded to Gregory, who began distributing envelopes. Those receiving red envelopes are terminated, effective immediately. Security will escort you to collect personal belongings. Jordan's voice was steel. Those with white envelopes are receiving formal warnings with probationary periods. Tyler leapt to his feet. You can't do this. I have rights. Your employment contract includes clear anti-discrimination clauses, Jordan cut him off. Not to mention the intentional food tampering, which is a criminal offense I've chosen not to pursue yet. The room erupted, some protesting, others stunned into silence, a few openly weeping. But you tricked us, Vanessa accused. You lied about who you were. I presented myself authentically, Jordan countered. The only difference was my title. Each of you revealed who you truly are based solely on how you treated someone you thought had no power. Security personnel appeared at the doorway as Gregory escorted the first terminated employees out. Justin, Tyler, Megan, Vanessa, and 7 others received red envelopes. For those remaining, Jordan continued once the room quieted, this is your opportunity to help rebuild Ember's culture. We'll be implementing mandatory diversity training and establishing anonymous reporting channels. He turned to Emily, who still hadn't moved, shock evident on her face. Emily, could I speak with you privately when we conclude? She nodded numbly, watching as her tormentors were escorted from the building, some pleading, others glaring back with undisguised hatred. One final note, Jordan addressed the remaining staff. The customer is not always right. No sale, no tip, no review is worth sacrificing human dignity. That's not what Embers stands for, and anyone who can't embrace that principle should tender their resignation now. No one moved. Meeting adjourned. Gregory will discuss next steps for reopening tomorrow. As the staff dispersed in whispered clusters, Emily remained seated, her resignation letter forgotten, her world completely upended. The man who'd been just a dishwasher approached her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Hopeful, perhaps. Apologetic, definitely. I believe we have some things to discuss, Jordan said gently, extending his hand to her. If you're willing to hear me out. Still processing everything, Emily slowly reached up and took his hand. The restaurant stood empty now, morning sunlight streaming through the windows. Emily sat across from Jordan at a corner table, an untouched cup of coffee between them. The revelation still felt surreal. The dishwasher she defended was actually the owner of the entire establishment. Why me? She finally asked. There are 12 restaurants in your chain. Why come here yourself? Why work in the dish pit? Jordan leaned back, considering her question. The reports about this location were particularly troubling. Embers was my first restaurant, the foundation everything else was built on. I needed to see for myself. But why not just fire everyone? Start over? Because sometimes good people get caught in toxic environments, Jordan explained. I needed to know who was causing the problem and who might be part of the solution. He smiled slightly. Like you. Emily shook her head, still processing. I just did what anyone would do. That's where you're wrong, Jordan said quietly. 11 other servers, 4 bartenders, and 8 kitchen staff watched me being mistreated daily. Only you stepped forward. When those difficult customers made racist remarks, only you spoke up. When they planted glass in the Hendersons' food to frame you, only you maintained your integrity. Emily looked down. And yet I was ready to quit. After enduring weeks of targeted harassment, Jordan pointed out. Most would have broken much sooner. He opened a leather portfolio and slid a document across the table. Emily scanned the contents, her eyes widening. Restaurant manager, she breathed. Me? With a salary more than double your current pay, full benefits and flexible scheduling for Tommy's needs, Jordan confirmed. You demonstrated more leadership from the bottom than Justin did from the top. Emily's mind raced. Manager meant regular hours, no more staying until 2 a.m. closing. It meant being able to pick Tommy up from school, afford better childcare, maybe even save for college. I don't know what to say, she stammered. I've never managed before. You managed to maintain your dignity and principles under extraordinary pressure, Jordan countered. The rest is just logistics. We have training programs, and Gregory will mentor you through the transition. Emily's fingers traced the offer letter, hesitating. What if I had something else in mind? Jordan raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. Before Tommy, I was in culinary school, Emily admitted. I dropped out when I got pregnant, picked up serving because the hours worked with childcare. But I always dreamed of opening my own cafe someday. Something small, community-focused. Understanding dawned in Jordan's eyes. A cafe of your own. Emily nodded. It's probably silly. It's not silly at all, Jordan interrupted. In fact, I have a proposition. He pulled out another document. Embers is opening a breakfast and lunch concept in the Arts District. We need someone to run it, someone with vision, integrity, and heart. He slid the proposal over. 60% ownership would be yours. I'd provide startup capital, business guidance, and the Embers supply chain. You'd bring the vision, the menu, the soul. Emily's hands trembled as she reviewed the outline. It was everything she dreamed about but never dared pursue. Creative freedom, financial stability, regular hours with Tommy, and dignity in her work. Why would you do this for me? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jordan's expression turned reflective. 20 years ago, I was washing dishes at a downtown steakhouse. The owner, an old-school Greek man named Stavros, caught me experimenting with recipes after hours. Instead of firing me, he mentored me, eventually backed my first restaurant. He paused. He saw potential where others saw just another black kid in a dish pit. Jordan leaned forward. Do you know why I named this place Embers? Emily shook her head. Because sometimes, all it takes is one ember to start a fire. Stavros was that ember for me, and now, maybe I can be that for you. Tears welled in Emily's eyes as the fullness of the opportunity settled on her. A chance not just for a job, but for a legacy. Something she could build and eventually pass to Tommy. I don't know how to thank you, she said. Thank me by succeeding, Jordan replied simply. And by remembering this moment when you're in a position to lift someone else up. As security finished escorting the last terminated employees from the building, Emily watched Tyler, Vanessa, and the others gathering their belongings from their cars. Their expressions a mixture of anger and disbelief. They still don't understand what they did wrong, she observed. Some never will, Jordan acknowledged. But you recognized basic humanity in a dishwasher when others saw someone beneath them. That says everything about who you are. Emily took a deep breath and signed the partnership agreement. In that moment she felt a weight lifting, not just the burden of working under toxic management, but the heavier weight of deferred dreams and diminished expectations. As the terminated employees drove away, Jordan extended his hand. Ready to start planning your cafe, Miss Carter? For the first time in weeks, Emily smiled without reservation. More than ready, Mr. Brooks. They walked together toward the kitchen, where Emily would begin sketching her menu concepts. Behind them, the morning light caught a small brass plaque near the entrance. One Emily had never noticed before. It read simply, "Embers, where sparks of kindness ignite futures of possibility." Jordan paused at the kitchen doors, turning to Emily with a final thought. "You know, you didn't just defend a dishwasher, you defended a dream." Emily nodded, understanding completely. "And now it's time to build my own."